All right. I don't got an intro for this one. I was trying to think of ideas, trying to think of wordplay. I got nothing. The best I came up with was "Thou shalt not doubt Laviska." That's the best I came up with, and I immediately threw it into the trash. I was like, "Thou shalt not doubt Laviska." I was like, "No, I'm not using this one." So we're just gonna go nothing, blank for this one. Laviska Shenault. I'm just gonna say his name loud and proud. Laviska Shenault. Brendan Albert is here. I am Adrian Fedq. Laviska Shenault is the next guy on our wide receivers list. Film study. Let's take a look at him. Brendan, how you doing?
Doing good, brother. Now we're starting to get into some of the gadget guys, and Laviska Shenault is absolutely a gadget guy. One of those guys who does a lot of the, funky things, right? Like I kind of say, like the junk drawer receiver can do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this. The problem with these guys, though, is they're always going to be raw at everything, right? They're not going to be perfect at route running. They're not going to be perfect at rack. They're not going to be perfect at tracking. They're not going to be perfect at all this stuff, right? Because they just are asked to do so many things that they're spread thin. So it's that old statement of, jack of all trades, master of none.
I see this as a situation where, like, he needs to be put in a situation where they know how to use him because, kind of like the gadget. He can obviously line up in the backfield, then he's lining up in the slot, then he's taking obviously the reverses and the jet sweeps. So he's doing a bunch of different things. And the team that immediately comes to mind for me is San Francisco and how Kyle Shanahan uses all those different pieces. So, that's the kind of coach that he's going to need, I think, to succeed here. And we were talking pre-show, and, this is what I love about this draft, because you were saying beggars can't be choosers. And that's saying, for this draft, we don't need to say it because we can be choosers. There's a lot of different varieties of ice cream that we can get into here. So Laviska Shenault, in most years, maybe the Eagles would have been kind of stuck with him, but not this year because there's other options. But we're going to get into him. And Brendan, do you think he's a fit for Philly?
I do think he's a fit for Philly, Adrian. Now, I'm gonna preface this by something you said, because I agreed with everything you said there, Adrian, in that if you draft him, you have to manufacture touches for him. You can't just roll out your offense and say, okay, let's go. A guy like Justin Jefferson, for example, he's more pro ready. You can just kind of say, here's our playbook. Let's go play tomorrow. If you bring in Laviska Shenault, you have to say, okay, hey, we're going to find different ways to get him touches. So to me, his success is probably going to be really best on a very innovative offensive coordinator and also an offensive coordinator who has stability. Now, that's what gets a little tricky with the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Because we know staff turnover has been kind of a up and down motion, to say the least, Adrian, right? So that's kind of something I say. If he fails, Adrian, I think that's his biggest reason he'll fail, is just not having a staff around him that is willing to find different situations to put him in a position for success.
Yeah, and for the Eagles here, I'm looking at speed to be addressed, and he's somebody, quicker than fast. He's going to be somebody that breaks a lot of tackles, and that's the first thing that we're going to look at in the film study here. Is this is his go-to thing. This is his bread and butter. His ability to make yards after the catch. He's very physical. Might be one of the more physical receivers in this class.
Yeah, 6'2", 220. I want to give you some numbers here I think are important for people to know. 6'2", 220. That's a good size. It's also very thick. I mean, that's a very, very thick receiver for height to weight ratio, which is pro and a con. Some guys would be a little worried about that. One thing I think is very important to note, the Eagles are one of the teams that have the longest history of drafting captains. Laviska Shenault was voted a captain as a sophomore. So that tells you about the type of character he is. And The Eagles do have a history of giving captains bonus points when they evaluate players. So that's certainly something you want to kind of keep in mind here. Other thing, Adrian, I think is really cool about some stats for him. In 2018, he led the nation in averaging 9.6 catches per game and 10.9 yards per play. So this tells you, he's going to be able to do some things when he gets the ball in his hands. I think the easiest comp for him, Adrian, and I think this is the floor, I think his floor is Cordell Patterson. But again, Cordell Patterson's never been a guy that you just roll out in the offense and say, let's roll. He's always been a guy you have to manufacture touches for. So if you're willing to do that, he can be very successful. But you have to have the offensive coordinator with the mindset to do so.
Yeah. That's an interesting comparison, and actually one that kind of makes sense when you really think about it. All right, so this particular play, this is showing the strength. He just muscles through a defender, and he's going to score a touchdown.
Yeah, again, you're going to see the 6'2", 220 here. Now, I get it. Maybe not elite level competition. I understand that when you're playing Air Force. But, I mean, you can still see the fact that this guy is a type of dude who he's going to fight through everything. And that's not something you can be said for all receivers. More often than not, we see the receivers make the business decisions to get the reception and then kind of fall down. Shenault's type of dude, Adrian, he's going to fight for everything.
Yeah, and we're going to see 4 plays right from the shoot that illustrate his physicality.
And you know what, Adrian, again, when you play for Colorado, you're their guy. You're your offense. So he is going to fight for every single thing here. And we talked about, Adrian, you said it so well, he is quicker than fast. You're going to see it in this clip here really well.
I like that. He's got a quick turn upfield.
He does. If you guys want to go back and if you said to me like, hey, what's a good game to watch of 2 potential Eagles draft pick receivers going back and forth, this USC-Colorado one's a good one of Michael Pittman, who maybe we might get to later, and then Shenault here too, of 2 guys that I think potentially could be fits for the Eagles here.
I mean, this is a perfect illustration. I probably should have led off with that play, the quick turn upfield and then making another defender miss after the catch. So he's making basically 2 guys miss. There's one. And then the cut again inside to get, an extra 2 yards. Well, he didn't make him miss, but that's another 2 yards he gains. And that's the thing that you see is he's getting 2, 3, 4, 5 extra yards that another receiver is simply not going to get.
100% right. I mean, a lot of receivers, they're content for what they have, right? And this is what's unique. Traditionally speaking, Adrian, the guys who are the fighters are usually the X-receivers. Shenault can play in the slot. Usually the slot guys, those are the ones that kind of take what's given, go down, and worry about next play. Shenault's not that type of slot guy. He fights for everything.
Yeah, and this is illustrating, kind of the gadget ability. He's going to take the snap in the wildcat position, and look at him just drag defenders. Another example of his physicality.
I put 3 guys, Adrian. When I was thinking about this, is I was thinking, well, what happens here? Let's say, for example, the Eagles stack their board and they say, hey, we want a gadget receiver. Where are gadget receivers? I put 1 on each day. Laviska Shenault, he's the guy in the first round. The guy in the second round is probably going to be Lynn Bolden coming out of Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And the guy in the third round to even undrafted, you're going to know this name, Adrian, oh too well, Isaiah Wright. I mean, they're just 3 versions of kind of good, or, your best, good, average, right? And that's what we're looking at here. But as you'll see here in this clip here against Nebraska, hey, you don't put a slot receiver back at quarterback unless you know he's willing to run with an attitude.
He takes that from the 7, all the way to the 2 to the 3 yard line. That's incredible.
We're talking about a slot receiver here, Adrian. This is an attitude type of player.
Boom.
I mean, honestly, if you want to have snaps at him at running back, it's perfect. I mean, he could do that absolutely tomorrow.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into this. This is his ability to take the jet sweep, and he's going to turn the corner. Again,
manufacturing touches for him. And you had to do that when you were Colorado, when you were clearly the under-athletic team. But you can see here, he's playing SC. He's playing against top-notch talent. And he's able to run by guys, able to make guys miss in the open field.
Incredible. So that's his ability, and that's the good stuff. Now, I saw more poor from him than probably the other guys that we had, but there's also, more upside with the physicality and some of the other things that he can probably do.
Well, it goes right back to what I mentioned earlier. Master, jack of all trades, master of none. Route running and hands are 2 things he's not great at. The problem is route running and hands are probably the 2 most important things for a receiver, right? Yeah. So, if you're talking about upside, yeah, I would say he's dripping in it. The problem is here, Adrian, this is a very deep class for you to say, let's go upside in the first round. Normally you don't go upside in the first round. You go solidified thing in the first round, and you go upside later.
Yep. All right, so we're going to look at his route running right now, and you're really going to break this down. And we noticed some of the other guys. Ayuk's got the route running, and some of the other guys, they need some work. And Shenault is somebody who definitely needs some work here.
100%. Look, what we're going to see here, and unfortunately we can't go slow-mo in this one here, folks, but what you're going to see here, this is just rounded at the top. It's not crisp. It's not sharp. It's just very loopy, and it's very soft. It's not with any violence here. It's just very flat. And the other one, we're going to take a peek here. He's just going to run kind of like a shallow post.
Yep.
On the shallow post here, he's going to kind of throttle down. Now, let me kind of come to his defense before I become critical first. He throttles down because there's going to be a safety over the top here, screaming down over hill. He's also probably going to throttle down because he's not playing a great quarterback play. Okay. I think all of those things are very, very fair. However, what we're going to see here in the next clip's a little better angle, is this is really it's not a sharp angle. Again, it's very loopy. It's very loopy at the top. And what that does is and what that does, Adrian, is it allows this corner more time. If this route is sharp, he's going to have more separation here. Yep. But because he loops, it allows the corner a simpler angle, to be honest with you, because it's going to be like 1 to 2 yards shorter for him because he loops this at the top opposed to being sharp.
Yep, there you go. There's a little bit of that glove technique to knock that pass away.
Right.
So what do we see here? Okay, is that the same play over again?
Yep, just wanted to run it back one more time, folks.
Gotcha. All right, next thing. What do we got? I'm losing myself on this list. I'll just let you take this away.
No, tracking ability.
Oh, I don't think he's great at this. Can't go up and get it.
I don't think he's yet great at tracking the ball vertically. I mean, he'll show the ability to do it, but I don't think he's great to do it yet. I mean, this is a clip here, Adrian, where he clearly thinks the ball is going further than it is, which is why he thinks he can run underneath it. And you even can see here, he's going to kind of try to come back at the last second. And in the rear view angle here, you can see he doesn't know where this rock is. He thinks it's like a smidget shorter, or a smidget longer, I should say. And because of that, Adrian, he just misplays it here. So again, this is what I talked about. He does a lot of things very well, but he doesn't do some of the things that you really would want a polished receiver to do at the first round, which makes me say, you know what? Could he be a fit for the Eagles? Absolutely. Could he be a really dynamic offensive threat? No doubt about it. But I don't think he's polished enough, at least not for me, in a really deep receiver draft. For me personally, Adrian, to take him as my first overall pick if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah. I agree with you. So just play that clip one more time because I just want to look at it one more time. Because I remember when I was looking at this, I'm like, I'm waiting for him to adjust to the ball. He didn't adjust to it, and then he didn't high point it. So this is two things that he didn't show in this play, the deep tracking ability, and then also high pointing the football, which he doesn't show. I mean, there's multiple clips that, we're not even going to show here, but he doesn't display this. So this is something I think he caught, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, this is a touchdown. And sometimes, this might be a touchdown in the NFL, but if you play one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL, if you're in the playoffs, that corner is going to knock this away if you're not high pointing.
Yeah, and this is what frustrates the heck out of you, Adrian, is like he'll make a play like this, but then just like we saw here, he won't do it. I mean, it's really very similar. It's still the idea of, okay, you have a corner who's in phase in your hip pocket where you need to track the ball and either attack it at its highest point. And it's like, okay, hey, yes, you made the reception versus Washington. That's fantastic, but don't tease me. As college coaches, as NFL coaches, as NFL evaluators, they can't stand inconsistency. They can't stand it because then when you're drawing up an offense, you're essentially saying, well, maybe my guy's going to do his job. I don't know. That shouldn't be the attitude you have of a first-round pick.
All right, so is that it here? We got one more. Okay, that's it. All right, so we evaluated now. This is the fourth guy, I believe. We've done KJ Hamler, Brandon Ayuk, Jalen Reagor, and now Laviska Shenault. In order for those guys, I got Reagor number 1, I got Ayuk number 2, Laviska probably 3, and then number 4 is Hamler. What would your 4 be?
Let me kind of walk you through the method of my madness here right? So
here's the thing about rankings too, because I know where you're going to go with this. It really does matter with the fit. And some teams are going to draft differently than other teams. Like the Eagles are going to need speed. They want speed. So they're not going to look at gadget guys like this. Whereas another team like San Francisco, this might be somebody that is higher up on their board.
I think as I kind of chew on this here, Adrian, I have it pretty clear. My number one guy of the four so far is Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
I feel very confident with that because he has high upside. You know, I understand the con of people saying, oh, he only has 1 year of production. Yeah, he only has 1 year of production because his teammate was drafted in the first round the year prior. All right. So, you know, the target share wasn't there for him. So I think that's a reason why I would take him because of the N'Keal Harry factor in his previous season.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has the best hands. I think he's probably the most polished route runner. I think he's the most explosive, and I think he's the best of the group in special teams. So he's my one for sure of the four so far. My two would probably be Laviska Shenault because I can see how I could fit him in different places, and I think he's probably safer than the other two guys remaining. I would go Jalen Reagor third because I love the fact that he came in heavy. Let me make sure I give the right numbers here, Adrian, because I think this is important.
Now we'll see if he runs fast as well now that he's heavy.
Yeah, Jalen Reagor came into the combine just the other day. Adrian, 5'10", 206 pounds, which to me is pretty darn important.
Yeah.
And the reason I would have Hamler as my fourth guy is he came in light. I think we all knew he was going to 178 is what he came in, 5'8", 178. Like, we all knew he was going to be light, but the thing that surprised me is when Jalen comes in, I thought Jalen and him are much closer than 12 pounds in weight. And when you come in 12 pounds underweight, now you put even more pressure on yourself to run fast. And I think KJ Hamler can and will run fast. I don't want to get that twisted. But if you asked me, which guy do I prefer? Give me the guy who's a little bit thicker and give me the guy who has less missed games in college. So that's why I would take Jalen Reagor over Hamler.
So it'll be really interesting to see how all this plays out because obviously I got a lot of respect for you, and we kind of have a little differentiation at the top.
Sure.
You know, Jalen Reagor, and you know obviously that's going to be like that for a lot of other teams. So most of the time you're about 69% of the time right, more so than I am, and you know I get that 31% sometimes. So you know hopefully I get it with Jalen Reagor, and if the Eagles do in fact go with him, I don't know if they would, but that's not this show anyway. So for Laviska, like for the Eagles position, I don't think they'd go this route. If he's like falling in the second round and he's there, like I think you would take him. But I don't think he would fall that far. I know you were wanting to get into a conversation you had with Skolsky before the show, so I'll let you get into that here.
Yeah, one thing Skolsky said, and it was so well done. You know, I was talking about, you know, how tight the race is. You know, I think the top three are very clear to me. I'm feeling more and more confident, Adrian, the more film we chat about, that Brandon is I'm feeling more concrete that he's four. And then I feel kind of wide open with that next group. And Skolsky said a perfect thing to me. I want to give him all the credit. Simple, but it's just simple. His text simply said to me was, it's too deep of a class to have a bad combine. You know, this is going to be a really tight group. You know, I know NFL Network does this. They call it the Cluster Buster segment, which is perfectly titled. There's a lot of these guys are close. And for KJ Hamler, him coming in 178 pounds, while everyone else came in bigger than I kind of thought personally, he lost the weigh-ins. Now, the weigh-in doesn't mean much. The most important things at the combine are going to be medical, followed by interviews, and then the on-field stuff. But I think KJ Hamler put himself in an uphill battle moving forward here, Adrian. I really do.
Yeah. Can I just say that I feel like I like Brandon Ayuk just as much as you do, but I also really like Jalen Reagor. And I feel like there's separation between those two and the other two guys that we covered. So, you know, I'm curious to see if, you know, Shenault, again, if he's in San Francisco, I think he does well. But if he's somewhere where it's, you know, not really a good spot, I don't know what that team would be per se. But, you know, I don't think he would do as well. So
I'll give you the best spot for him, Adrian, and it's not San Francisco. It's New Orleans. If Taysom Hill leaves, boom, slide him right in. We're ready to roll.
Yeah,
because he can do all that junk stuff that Taysom Hill wants to do, and he can play. And he can play receiver.
I like that, and he's a progressive mind, Sean Payton.
Bingo.
There you go. All right, so that's the fourth guy. We're gonna get into some really good stuff next week. Justin Jefferson and maybe T. Higgins. We'll see. We'll see about that. But Brandon Ayuk's gonna be your 4, so that'll be interesting to see if I'm gonna like Justin Jefferson as much as those two. So now this is where I'm gonna differentiate myself. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah. So far, I'm gonna say this as we're sitting here, Adrian, on Tuesday, February 25th. My top 4 are Judy, Lamb, Ruggs, Ayuk. And then I haven't gotten enough meat on the bone to really chew into the next grouping. So I'm curious to see if any of these guys can dethrone Ayuk. I don't think the top 3 are going to be dethroned, but I'm curious to see what we see happen moving forward with Ayuk as my 4th guy.
Yeah. Because like Jefferson, I see as somebody who could crack.
I agree.
Up there. So and by the way, to the listeners, we kind of do this where I kind of reveal how I like a player, and then Brendan's like, all right, this is how I feel about it. And with Ayuk, I liked him just as much as he did before I even revealed it to him. So that's interesting to see. And you like him just like you kind of like A.J. Brown. And I kind of have the same kind of vibe with him.
I can see that. I can see that. A.J. Brown a little bit thicker, but I get a lot of similar type of vibes with him. I also could say I just think he's going to be a really explosive player. And if you're telling me the biggest thing for him is to clean up his route running, I'm okay with that because he's a good hands catcher, and I think he's really explosive. Honestly, Adrian, if he had junior year film nearly as good, or film to me his first year and nearly as good as his second year, there wouldn't be a question. He would be number 4, maybe even number 3 or 2. He's that freaking good. That last year was that freaking good to me. So I think the biggest knock is that he doesn't have the volume of film as some other guys.
There you go. All right, that's Brendan Albert. I'm Adrian Fedq. We're out of here. That's this installment of the Film Room. Hope you guys enjoy. Peace.
Appreciate it.